Name's Red McCraith. I'm obviously a Banisher.
Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is an action-adventure RPG and is the game that I have been absolutely obsessed with for the past 2 weeks. It's a fairly new release coming out in February, and it was a quiet release at that. I don't remember seeing any adverts or promos for this. All of a sudden, I just saw someone playing this game on YouTube, a game that I had never heard of. The best way I can describe this game for you is that it's the gameplay style of God of War Ragnarok with a paranormal witch hunt kind of story. And since playing it, I think this is one of the most underrated games of 2024. This game has a really epic story to tell. The gameplay is engaging, combat is addicting, side quests are directly linked to the main story, so everything is tied together nicely, and overall, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. The story for Banishers is one that I find to be quite rare. One which makes decisions hard, draws you in with its mysteries, and also makes you develop really strong connections with the characters. You'll follow 2 Banishers named Antea and Red, who, at the request of a friend, travel to New Eden, a newly founded town in America, to assist with a ghost problem. On arrival, they find out that this ghost is much more dangerous than they first thought, and is basically the absolute worst kind you can get, born of extreme pain, torment, and betrayal. And when you go to face it, it kills Antea. Honestly, all of this hooked me right from the get-go. Who doesn't love a good ghost mystery? So you wake up as Red, you're sad, you've just lost the love of your life until she appears to you a minute later as a ghost. And so off you go, Red the human and Antea the ghost, to take down this nightmare once and for all. Of course, it isn't that straightforward. There are several other paranormal cases that you'll need to investigate, and a story to unravel about why exactly this nightmare was created. And it's not pretty to find out, but it is interesting. Where the story really grabs you is that Red and Antea really evolve with you. You get to know the past, their fears, you know what they're feeling, they laugh with each other, they fight, comfort each other. You'll get crazy attached to these two, and this is where it gets difficult, as you basically need to decide whether you want to bring Antea back to life or let her pass on. What you decide ultimately impacts your decision making throughout the game as you solve haunting cases. If you want her to live, you need to blame the living and sacrifice their souls even if they're innocent. But if you want her to move on and ascend to the afterlife, you'll need to help other ghosts ascend as well. It's such a difficult decision because you honestly live through the pain that Red experiences having lost Antea. And at the same time, some of the people you help are grade A assholes who don't deserve saving, but then again there's also many really innocent, nice people who don't deserve to be sacrificed. And to get either of these endings, you'll need to sacrifice basically everyone or ascend basically everyone. So it's really difficult. As I mentioned before, the gameplay reminds me heavily of God of War. I never actually played that game, the story just was not my style, but I saw others play it and I can't deny the strong resemblance. You control both Red and Antea and you can switch between them as they offer both different skills to get past situations and different combat styles. While your ultimate goal here is to get back to New Eden, there are 4 other areas that you'll need to visit and aid before you can actually get there. These 4 areas all have their own sort of stories to follow that also link back to the main story, and these 4 areas also provide different environments. There's a forest, a marsh, snowy mountains, and a sort of barren area. I just found this world so interesting to explore. I often get bored while exploring in some RPGs as there really isn't too much to find. However, Banishers provides just the right blend of puzzles, caves, enemies, towns, and structures to make the world feel realistic while keeping it interesting to explore to the very end. As you explore, there are collectibles scattered around the map with the completion rate bar to see in the menu, making it an excellent game for people such as myself who love completing collections and 100%ing games. Collectibles include finding and unlocking chests, curing cursed items, finding voids, and more. super diverse, and I actually had a lot of fun going around and collecting everything. As Banishers, you have a sort of extra ability to see ghosts and such, so as you explore you'll often come across enemies that you'll need to defeat. And this is one of the very rare games that I really enjoyed combat. The only time I got sick of it in my entire playthrough is when I was hunting collections, because it got a little bit annoying. Otherwise, I really enjoyed it. These enemies can pop up randomly, or you can stumble across enemy sites, and they also appear while doing quests. As Red, you'll be able to use a sword and a gun to fend off enemies, and as Antea, you can actually punch them while also using your ghost abilities. You have a skill system which can enhance your abilities and provide you bonuses, and this is where you can actually really customize your combat style to suit you. In my case, I really liked using Red's shotgun and Antea's punching style. Both of these felt so satisfying when you made contact with the enemies, so I put a bunch of bonuses on these two, such as extra damage if I hit a weak spot, or gaining more and more damage until I get hit. And by the end of the game, I had this epic skill set that perfectly complemented these two styles, which made me pretty OP, and it was very fun. As you collect items and do quests, you'll also be able to collect various weapon styles and clothing. It's more so a skin for each of these, but they do offer different stats, and each piece of equipment comes with a perk. So again, I aligned all of my equipment to work well with the gun and hand combat, and it was awesome. Onto the characters in the game. Every single character has a background, a distinct personality, motives, and so on. They feel like genuinely real people. You've got everything from assholes to lovely characters, and those people in between that are okay but have had to make some really rough decisions. And you're basically here to judge them all. As you progress in the main story, they progress with their lives. You can go into town, help out, and leave, and then come back to find someone has started a farm or a new building is being put up. The storytelling in this game is amazing. The main quest could probably be completed in about 25 or so hours, but if you also focus on the collectibles and side quests, you're looking at a 50-hour game. In both main quests and side quests, you'll need to investigate hauntings. These involve gathering evidence, following trails, finding items, searching homes, questioning people, and so on. At the end, you get a choice. You can either ascend or banish the ghost, or blame the human and sacrifice them. While it may seem straightforward, the hauntings are always really complicated, and in a way you can always kind of understand people's motives, so it can just be a difficult choice. There are heaps of optional side quests, which can also be linked to the main story. It's basically other people who are haunted that you can assist. And the decisions you make for these hauntings can have consequences. For example, there was one where I ascended a ghost, and turns out the human that was being haunted later died and came back as a spectre because he was angry at me for not banishing the ghost. Another one is where I sacrificed a somewhat innocent human, and they also came back to haunt me because they were mad. But I couldn't really blame them. As I mentioned before, you need to kind of decide on what fate Antea will have at the end of the game. For my playthrough, I of course went the route of ascending her as I didn't want to sacrifice human life, and I always kind of choose the good side in video games. As the story developed and I learned more of what caused the nightmare to begin with, and as I followed Red and Antea and got really attached to them and saw how much pain they were feeling due to the selfish actions of others, I was like, screw it, she deserves to live, these people are assholes, I'm going to start sacrificing people. And boy, it was hard. At times I couldn't even bring myself to do it, other times I had absolutely no problem with it. And ultimately, my decisions had a really major effect on Red and Antea and how their relationship evolved. So you can really have an impact here, and the game has a way of making yourself second guess every decision you make. It's awesome. The game obviously looks amazing, I mean just look at it. A beautiful world with some amazing landscapes. I especially love this kind of time period in video games, and mixing that with a paranormal themed game, and I couldn't ask for more. If a paranormal RPG sounds right up your alley, I really recommend you try this. I also wasn't sure if I would like this game as I knew there would be quite a bit of combat, but I actually especially loved that part. This game does everything so well and everything fits together perfectly. If it were up to me, this game would be a contender for Game of the Year, because it probably will be for me. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!